The drama starts with a car driving on the road. After a while, the car stops in front of the Eden apartments, and a girl named Dong-yoon emerges from the car. Dong-yoon is the main character of the drama, and she is a victim of bullying by her schoolmates. Her studio is full of pictures of a woman named Yeon-jin. Soon after, the woman in the pictures enters Dong-yoon's studio and asks, "Who are you?" Dong-yoon responds, "It's me, Yeon-jin. It's me." Suddenly, Dong-yoon hit her very harshly, causing her to fall to the floor. Dong-yoon says, "You have given me yet another reason to kill you. You should have recognized me." Yeon-jin responds, "Do you think you can kill me?" Dong-yoon says, "I'm going to try my hardest to kill you. Do you want to hear how I came to be where I am now?" Dong-yoon proceeds to tell her story. When Dong-yoon was in high school, she was suffering like hell. Dong-yoon's classmate named Yeon-jin was bullying her very badly with the help of other classmates. When Dong-yoon complained to the head of the school, she found out that the head was a friend of Yeon-jin's mother and did not take any steps against Yeon-jin. The other perpetrators were released due to their connections. After that, she went to the police station to register her complaint. Her guardian and homeroom teacher, Jong Mi-hee, arrived at the same time. He said very harshly, "Why did you call the police over a little prank between friends?" She was very disheartened and left the police station. At that time, Yeon-jin, who led the violence, went to a shaman. The shaman said, "You have disappointed me so much today. You couldn't handle a girl who has nothing." Yeon-jin replied, "I did not know I would end up with the cops." The next day, Yeon-jin had a plan against Dong-yoon. She got the keys from the gymnasium instructor, and with her friends, called Dong-yoon there by force. Yeon-jin's friends held Dong-yoon's arms while Yeon-jin said, "I wanted to apologize. There was no need to call the cops about it. You scared us." Speaking of which, Dong-yoon, is the curling iron hot enough? I just want you to check if it's hot or not. Yeon-jin then touched the hot curling iron to Dong-yoon's arm. Dong-yoon was crying for help due to the pain. Yeon-jin's friend said to Dong-yoon, "You can scream all you want, but nobody will find out. The gym teacher gave us the key." Dong-yoon asked, "Why are you doing this to me?" Yeon-jin replied, "Because even if I do this, nothing will happen to me and nothing will change for you. Nobody will protect you, Dong-yoon." The next morning, Dong-yoon went to a clinic and asked for a hydrogen peroxide solution. The doctor on duty asked her what happened and who did this. The doctor also asked if she had told her homeroom teacher. Yeon-jin was in the room and said, "It was me." The doctor didn't say anything to Yeon-jin because she belonged to a rich and powerful family. Meanwhile, Dong-yoon, who couldn't stand the bullying, dropped out from school. She wrote all the names of her classmates who had been bullying her on the withdrawal form. As the rumor spread, the homeroom teacher brought Yeon-jin and Dong-yoon's parents together. Yeon-jin's father gave a lot of money to Dong-yoon's mother and said, "I need the father's signature here on the settlement letter because sometimes legal matters are important." He signed the letter. For about $20,000, Dong-yoon's mother turned her daughter into a social misfit. After seeing her mother's clear-cut agreement, Dong-yoon realized that she no longer had her feet on the ground. Dong-yoon had to work day and night to immediately pay the rent because she left her parents' home. All night long, the burning scars seemed to convince her to give up everything now, but she said to herself that the scars wouldn't itch anymore. This is probably the right thing. Winter has always been colder for Dong-yoon. Paradoxically, due to the thick fog similar to her life, Dong-yoon turns her feet just before the wrong choice. The next day, Dong-yoon is walking calmly towards Yeon-jin and the other perpetrator. She said to Yeon-jin, "Your dream that you wrote on your Psyworld page, a wise mother and a kind wife. Sarah wants to paint. Jae-jun will inherit a golf course. Hae-jong wants to become a flight attendant. I don't have a dream, Dong-yoon. Dreams are for people like you. I'll pay you to work for me after your dream comes true. What's your dream?" Dong-yoon replied, "Starting today, my dream is you. I hope we'll see each other again." After that day, Dong-yoon got a job at a factory and started spending her days concentrating on work and studying, except during sleeping time. Having passed the exam for her high school diploma, she started preparing for the college entrance exam. Time passed with a few failures, but in the end, Dong-yoon was accepted into the University of Education, where she became an elementary school teacher. Now she has her own gymnasium of 60 square meters, and she's going to wield a very soft and bright curling iron, which she cherishes the most for Yeon-jin. While Dong-yoon was living a rat race, Yeon-jin became a weather forecaster and married a rich CEO named Do-young of a construction company. They had a cute daughter, but that was not all. There were 4 others who had buried Dong-yoon in the past. Among them, Sarah, who had become an artist with her parents' wealth, was burning her artistic soul with drugs. Hae-jong, who had become a flight attendant only aimed at rich men, and Jae-jun, who had inherited a luxury country club, looked the same as before. With the help of a colleague named Sung-hee, whom she had met at the factory, Dong-yoon tried to collect personal information of the perpetrators left on Facebook. At the same time, Dong-yoon conducted a background check on Yeon-jin's husband, Do-young, and found out that he liked to play Go. She sought an opportunity to approach him, saving money in various ways. Dong-yoon lived only for revenge. One day, due to mental stress, Dong-yoon suddenly fell to the ground and was admitted to the hospital. While Dong-yoon was laying in the hospital, Yeon-jin succeeded in marrying Do-young, the CEO of Jaepyeong Construction. Jae-jun, who was dating not only Hae-jung but also Yeon-jin, felt uncomfortable. After a few months, Yeon-jin was preparing for the weather forecast. Dong-yoon met a man named Yo-jung, who was a doctor and also interested in her. He asked, "Do you like to play Go?" She said, "Yes, do you know how to play?" He replied, "Yes, I'm incredible at it." Dong-yoon asked, "How long would I have to learn to be a good player?" That night, they planned to play Go. He taught her all the tricks of the game. Their Go tutoring continued for several seasons. She thanked him for being her tutor all this time. Dong-yoon became an elementary school teacher. The first piece of revenge was matched. Yeon-jin's husband gifted her bright green-colored heels on her birthday. That night, Dong-yoon returned to Seoul with a garbage bag. In the garbage bag, there were some old papers. She checked all the papers carefully, and suddenly saw something important written. "To my old friend Ju Soo-hyun, I bequeath the following. Ju Soo-hyun is not Kim Shin-tae's family." Meanwhile, Hae-jung, the daughter of a laundry shop owner, chose the most expensive clothes among the customers to meet Yeon-jin and Sarah. When she went to meet them, they made fun of her and laughed at her dress. The next morning, Yo-jung, the doctor, missed Dong-yoon again. He went back several times since his last greeting with her, but he could not meet Dong-yoon. Dong-yoon went to a shoe store where she met the owner of the store, Sun Myung-oh. He asked her, "Are you here to buy shoes?" She replied, "No, I'm just trying them on." Sun Myung-oh offered her a drink and said, "You can keep those shoes on that you're trying. This store is mine." During their conversation, Jae-jun called, but Sun Myung-oh did not pick up the call. Sun Myung-oh told Dong-yoon that Jae-jun can't do anything without him. She asked, "Are you still running errands for Jae-jun? I want to destroy Jae-jun with your help." Dong-yoon, who threw bait at Myung-oh, went to a cafe and met her college senior named Soo-han. She asked him, "Why do you always wear that watch?" He told her, "My father bought it when he was first assigned to a school. He wanted to pass it on to his son, but he is old now and it is quite hard to pay his caregivers and his hospital bills, so I really need to pass the inspector exam this year." She encouraged him by saying, "You can pass the exam." At that time, she had a call from Semyoung Real Estate. While attending the call, Dong-yoon left the cafe. She applied for a vacancy in the apartment. After attending the call, Dong-yoon eventually got a studio overlooking Yeon-jin's house. Dong-yoon was searching for a trash can somewhere that evening, and a voice stopped her. A woman appeared in front of her and asked, "Are you looking for this?" It was Hee-nam, the housekeeper of the house that Dong-yoon was investigating. Hee-nam asked her, "When did you start doing this?" Dong-yoon offered her money for the trash can, but she refused to accept money. Instead, she said, "I want to be on your side. I will help you out, so please help me too." Dong-yoon asked, "What exactly do you want from me?" Hyun-nam replied, "I want you to kill my husband." Hyun-nam was suffering from her husband's vicious domestic violence, so she made a cruel offer to Dong-yoon for her daughter. Soon after the day Lee Sedol fought against AI, it reminded Yo-jung of Dong-yoon again. She thanked him for being her tutor for all this time and asked, "Is this our last lesson?" He insisted she start playing Go as she had not beaten him, but she refused and said, "I will get going. I have some extra tutoring to do." Meanwhile, Dong-yoon, who accepted Hyun-nam's offer, met her. Hyun-nam gave her an envelope containing some photos. Dong-yoon wrote the basic details on the back of the photos, and they were all of the perpetrators. Dong-yoon insisted that she send her daughter to Seoul Station by train for 2 hours so that she could tutor her. She also advised her to learn how to drive. Hyunnam's life was waiting for the situation to change. Her daughter met Dong-yoon and began to turn completely upside down. Dong-yoon gifted Hyunnam a brand new car and a camera. She wanted Hyunnam to use this car to start a background check on the perpetrators. Hyunnam was very happy and started to film every move they made. She approaches Sarah, the pastor's daughter, for information. She collects a lot of information about the perpetrators. Dong-yoon, who was looking at the pictures Hyunnam took, found that Yeon-jin went to the eye doctor with her daughter Jae-jun. Her daughter was red-green and colorblind. That night, Do-young stopped by a Go Club after work. He parked the car and left the keys at the club and went home. It's Friday. He goes to meet Mr. Choi. While discussing some business matters with him, he noticed Dong-yoon playing Go. It was natural for him to be interested in Dong-yoon, who smashes all the seniors at Go. Dong-yoon, who was on her way to tutor Hyunnam's daughter, encounters Yo-jung by chance. He told her, "I'm going to an academic conference in Semyeong with some professors." She said, "I heard you went to the army as a medical officer." Yo-jung inquired, "But where did you hear about that?" "From the old guys at the park," she replied. He asked, "What brings you to Semyeong? Do you work here?" But she said, "I've got to go now." He said, "Okay, but when we started having Go sessions at the park." He showed her a card and said, "This is where I am." Soon he said goodbye to her and went on his way. When Dong-yoon returns to her apartment, the owner of the apartment asked her, "Do you not live here? You were in Unit 301, and why did you get this apartment to rent and also leave it empty for months? I'm just wondering what's going on." But Dong-yoon satisfied her by saying, "I have not gotten a job at Semyeong yet. I'm trying." Then one day, Hyunnam visits Dong-yoon, saying that she took a video of Chairman Kim Shin-tae. In the video, he was with his driver named Ju Soo-hyun. After watching the video, Dong-yoon brought a bouquet and went to see Kim Shin-tae. She introduced herself. He was very surprised to see her after a long time. Suddenly, Soo-han emerged from the car. She asked, "What brings you to this neighborhood?" But he said, "This is my family house. He's my father." She told him, "I used to be your father's student." All of this was part of a plan. That night, Dong-yoon visits Ma-young-oh. He asked her, "You're trying to get revenge, are you not?" But she refused by saying, "I can't get revenge on you because you have nothing." She whispered, "I did not leave you out, Ma-young-oh." After a few days is Sarah's solo exhibition. All the perpetrators are gathered here. After that, Dong-yoon went to the gymnasium where all perpetrators were present. They were all surprised to see Dong-yoon. Dong-yoon asked Yeon-jin, "How have you been?" She went to Semyeong School and had a meeting with the chief director of the school. She told him that her driver's name is Ju Soo-hyun and threatened him by saying that his son will have to share their inheritance with Ju Soo-hyun. She said, "I want to be the homeroom teacher for class 1 to 2 at Semyeong Elementary." In this way, she became a teacher at Semyeong Elementary School. Among them, she became Yeon-jin's daughter's homeroom teacher. One day, the school had a ceremony. The principal announced, "This award goes to Park Yeon-jin, an alumna of the 23rd graduating class." Dong-yoon, who was hiding in the fog, now appeared in front of them. Dong-yoon had completely changed from the past when she was kneeling under violence. At that time, rumors about the chief of the medical clinic who died a while ago began to spread in Yo-jung's hospital. The next day, Yeon-jin received a call saying that her daughter Yesel had spilled milk. Yesel told her, "Mr. Yang is not our homeroom teacher anymore. We are getting a new homeroom teacher." Yeon-jin replied, "I will go to your school tomorrow." Her daughter told her the name of her new homeroom teacher, Dong-yoon. At that time, Dong-yoon went to Semyeong Elementary School for the first time. She was busy with her students. Yeon-jin ran to the school, putting everything aside. Yeon-jin asked, "How have you been planning this?" Dong-yoon told her, "The way here was so tough, I thought I had died. But now that I'm here, it is pretty fun. Today has been especially fun for me. Welcome to my very own gym, Yeon-jin." Dong-yoon went to her old homeroom teacher, Jong Mi-hee. He was with his son. She congratulated his son for passing the school inspector exam. He told her, "I passed the first part, now I have the in-depth interview left." During their conversation, suddenly Jong Mi-hee shouted at her. The homeroom teacher was extremely angry with Dong-yoon, who was aware of his past misdeeds. He shut the door on her. The homeroom teacher was a stumbling block for his son to become a scholarship teacher. He died of dyspnea during a scuffle with his son. Now Yeon-jin has come to Dong-yoon. Dong Yoon threatens her by saying, "Your daughter will be your punishment. From now on, you are going to suffer." Yeon Jin is filled with anger but feels helpless. Yeon Jin goes to Dong Yoon and says, "Stop with your bullshit and just ask me for money." But Dong Yoon refuses her offer. Meanwhile, an item has been delivered to Jae-jun, who is angry because of Ma Young-oh's lost contact. Yeon Jin's daughter Yesel's toothbrush was delivered to Jae-jun. In the meantime, Hee-nam approaches Haejong to steal her cell phone. Hee-nam gives the cell phone to Dong Yoon with a password. Dong Yoon is very happy. Sarah uses drugs, and Dong Yoon has proof of it. Meanwhile, Yo-jung makes a big decision. She has lived her entire life in a world without obstacles, but now she's in great trouble. Hee-nam tells Dong Yoon, "My son Mayong is missing. I'm not sure where he is." Meanwhile, Yeon Jin is worried that Dong Yoon might have posted something on an internet site. Dong Yoon visits Sung Hee, a former colleague at a travel agency. Here, she came to know that Mayong did not leave the country. Mayong had snapped. Meanwhile, other perpetrators also began to feel uncomfortable with Mayong hiding. Yo-jung was seeking a home and hospital site in Semyang, where she met Dong Yoon. She told him the story of her past and how she was betting her entire life on revenge. She showed him her body, and Yo-jung told her, "I am with you in your revenge. We will take revenge together." Yeon Jin's husband was looking at wedding and family photos when Yeon Jin entered the room. He asked her if he could see Jae-jun or son Mayong. This did not seem normal, and his behavior had changed somewhat with Yeon Jin. Yeon Jin looked through his car navigation system and found out that he had met with Jae-jun. A few years ago, a patient killed Yo-jung's father in a hospital, and the patient went to jail. Since then, he's been sending letters to beg for mercy, but the taunts wrapped in an apology letter were repeated endlessly. Since that day, Yo-jung had never forgotten her desire for revenge. Dong Yoon headed to the place where the money and Hee-nam's daughter were. Dong Yoon sent Hee-nam's daughter to study abroad in the United States. Yeon Jin's daughter told her dad that they had an open house at school next Friday, and the conversation naturally turned to the new homeroom teacher. She told him that her teacher was her mom's friend. Yeon Jin came after hearing that her husband had met Jae-jun. She called Jae-jun and asked why he was ignoring her. Jae-jun came to see Yesel with different feelings and started to figure out how to get his daughter back from Do-young. Jae-jun's lawyer told him that he could only get his daughter back when Jae-jin divorced her husband. Meanwhile, Haejong started receiving unknown threats. Dong Yoon gave the settlement money to the men who were following her, and Hee-nam was waiting to find out who they were. Hee-nam brought the results of the vehicle background check that evening. Meanwhile, Haejong had all kinds of tests at the maternity hospital. She went to her future mother-in-law to show her all the maternity tests. While she was talking to her mother-in-law, Dong Yoon arrived and was very happy to see her. Haejong was very surprised. Dong Yoon met with Haejong and told her that she knew all her secrets. She advised Haejong to go to the police station and report the missing Ma Young-oh. Haejong agreed to do so. Yeon Jin went to Jae-jun and asked him to meet with her husband. He told her that Yesel is his daughter. Soon after, Do-young visited the school for the open class for fathers. There, he saw Jae-jun also present. Dong Yoon entered the class and began the open house. People started to arrive one by one at the gym that Dong Yoon had been preparing for decades. Jae-jun approached Dong Yoon and threatened her not to touch Yesel. However, she felt no fear and told him that she knew he was the father of Yesel. Do-young met with Haejong and asked her about the relationship between Dong Yoon and Yo-jin. She told him the entire past story, and now Dong Yoon's real purpose was becoming clearer. During that evening at Dong Yoon's house, Jae-jun informed her that Do-young had canceled all his meetings and would call her during the coming weekend to clear the situation. Meanwhile, Jae-jun started to take action to get his daughter back. Dong Yoon, on the other hand, thought about the disappeared Ma Young-oh and came up with an idea. Yeon Jin was shocked when she obtained Dong Yoon's personal information, as Dong Yoon's house was right in front of her own. At the same time, Dong Yoon received a call from Do-young, who wanted to meet her during the weekend. She went to meet him and told him to ask any questions he had. He responded by saying that he had a lot of questions for both her and Yeon Jin, but he planned to hear her out first. Meanwhile, Yeon Jin forcefully opened the door and entered Dong Yoon's house, where she saw photos of all the perpetrators in Dong Yoon's studio. Suddenly, someone entered the studio. It was Dong Yoon's husband, Do-young. At the same time, Yo Jung headed to a secluded morgue but found nothing. Dong Yoon continued to play Go, alone in her empty house.